a flat-bladed screwdriver, a gap the width of a coin, and below it 6.2 kilograms of plutonium waiting. Twice in this room, the gap closed. Twice the air turned blue, and twice the man leaning over it walked out already dead. This is a cold case. The murder weapon is a metal ball. It killed 2 of the men who built it. And then it was destroyed. They called it the Demon Core. The Cosmic Files, File 002, the Demon Core. In the summer of 1945, a sphere of plutonium sat in a vault at Los Alamos. It had already helped end a war. 6.2 kilograms, 89 millimeters across, a plutonium and gallium alloy, cast in 2 hemispheres, plated in nickel. Inside the lab, they nicknamed it Rufus. It was the 3rd plutonium core the Manhattan Project ever made. The first tested at Trinity. The second fell on Nagasaki. The third was meant for a city that surrendered first. Japan surrendered on the 15th of August. The 3rd bomb was never needed, so the core stayed behind, a finished weapon with no war to end. They kept it for experiments, to push it toward the edge of a chain reaction, to measure exactly how close they could come to a star, by hand. Inside, the danger was invisible, a needle on a dial. A small celluloid badge clipped to a pocket, quietly counting the dose nobody could feel. The file has 3 suspects. The first is the object itself, a piece of metal machined to sit a hair below the line, indifferent, patient, obeying only physics. The 21st of August, 1945. Night shift, Harry Daghlian, 24 years old, working alone with only a guard in the room. He was building a wall of tungsten carbide bricks around the core. Each brick bounced, escaping neutrons back inside. Each brick tightened the noose. His neutron counters warned him. The next brick would tip it over. He pulled his hand back, and the brick slipped from his fingers. It landed on the core. The room flooded with a glow of blue light and a wave of heat. The first time a human being ever saw the dragon wake. He tore the bricks off the core with his bare hands to stop it. By the time the glow died, the dose was already inside him. 25 days. Acute radiation syndrome, a coma. On the 15th of September, Harry Daghlian became the first person ever killed by a criticality accident. His dose was around 510 rem. The guard, 12 feet away, lived another 33 years before leukemia found him too. Here is what actually happened, not a curse. Physics. Plutonium leaks neutrons. On its own, the core is safe. Surround it with a reflector, and those neutrons bounce back in. Each one triggers one more fission, then more, then a runaway. When the reaction grows on prompt neutrons alone, it does not ramp. It spikes. In a millionth of a second, the room is flooded with neutron and gamma radiation. And the blue flash? That is the air itself, ionized, made to glow by the burst. It is not an explosion. It is the only moment you ever see the dragon. The second suspect is the procedure. They had a name for bringing the core to the edge by hand, tickling the dragon's tail. The phrase came from Richard Feynman. He said doing it was like tickling the tail of a sleeping dragon. The trouble was, the dragon never slept. The third suspect is the men. Enrico Fermi warned them, "Keep doing it this way," he said, "and you will be dead within a year." They kept doing it. The 21st of May, 1946. 9 months after Daghlian. The same core. Louis Slotin, 35, demonstrating the trick one last time before he left the project. The rules called for solid shims to keep the halves apart. Slotin used the blade of a screwdriver instead, a shortcut he had used 100 times. The screwdriver slipped, the dome dropped shut. A flash of blue light filled the room and a wave of heat. The dragon was awake. Slotin tore the top hemisphere off with his bare hand and flipped it to the floor. Half a second, his body shielding the 7 men behind him, he took the worst of it himself. He turned to the others and said quietly, "Well, that does it." He already knew. He was a dead man standing in his own laboratory. Then he did something extraordinary. He marked on the floor where every man had been standing, so the doctors could work out how much radiation had killed each of them. His dose was about 1,000 rem. 9 days later, on the 30th of May, Slotin was dead. A Los Alamos press release called it a three-dimensional sunburn. The truth was worse. His body failed, system by system, while his parents sat at the bedside, flown in by the army. 7 others were in the room. The dose fell off with distance, like a map drawn in radiation. Closest stood Alvin Graves. He survived and died young, 19 years later. The bill arrived slowly. A photographer, a plastic anemia. A guard killed in Korea. A physicist, leukemia. The Corps kept collecting quietly for decades. Before the deaths, they called it Rufus. After the second man died, a new name spread through the lab. Nobody knows who said it first. The Demon Corps. And the file was sealed from the start. Daghlian's death was told to the public as chemical burns. The radiation, the danger, the truth, all of it classified. The official record called Slotin a hero who saved 7 lives. A survivor said he endangered them all with unsafe procedure he chose himself. Both are true. The file does not resolve it. 2 deaths ended it. Los Alamos banned all hands-on critical work. From then on, the Dragon was tickled by remote control, by men watching from a quarter of a mile away. The core itself was too radioactive even for the bikini tests. So in the summer of 1946, they melted it down and poured its plutonium into other weapons. It did not vanish. It multiplied. There was never a demon. There was a piece of metal, a thin line, and 2 men who leaned across it. The line between safe and supercritical was the width of a screwdriver's slip. The Demon Core is gone. Its plutonium is still out there, somewhere, in something. And the lesson it taught was written in 2 men's lives. The file is never truly closed.